You came home to an empty house, key around your neck, lights off, no one there, and you figured it out because that's just what your generation did. Nobody hovered. Nobody asked how you were. You raised yourself mostly. And here's the part no one prepared you for. The same parents who couldn't be there for you then need you completely now. The latchkey kids grew up, and we became the caretakers. You know the small rituals of that childhood by heart. The hide a key under the mat, or the one on the string under your shirt, the walk home alone, the afternoons that belong to no one but you, television too loud in an empty living room, a snack you made yourself, homework no one checked. Be home before dark was the whole of the supervision. You were trusted or you were forgotten, and at 8 years old, the two can feel like exactly the same thing. And you didn't complain because you didn't know there was anything to complain about. This was just the air you breathed. You learned to make yourself dinner, to let yourself in, to handle the scraped knee and the scary noise and the long quiet hours with no one to tell. You became competent the way other kids became tall, without trying, without noticing, simply because the years required it of you. Today we're going to talk about what happens when that child grows up. When the self-reliance you built to survive an empty house becomes the exact thing your whole family now leans on. We'll look at the sandwich you're caught in, the particular ache of caring for people who couldn't always care for you, where your fierce independence actually came from, and why you, of all people, are allowed to finally put some of it down. Let's start by naming who you are, because almost no one does. You are Generation X, the children of the 70s and 80s, raised in the gap between two enormous waves of attention and largely left to your own devices in it. If you were born roughly between 1965 and 1980, you belong to the most independent generation in living memory and the most overlooked. You were handed a self-sufficiency you never asked for. You learned not to need. And the very training that made you so capable is now being cashed in, all at once, by everyone above you and everyone below you. Think about the forces that shaped that childhood. Divorce rates that doubled so a lot of you moved between two homes or watched one parent carry everything. Mothers entering the workforce in record numbers for reasons necessary and good, which also meant the house was empty by 3:15. An economy that demanded both parents work and a culture that had not yet invented the idea of the carefully supervised child. You were the experiment that came before the helicopter, and then the helicopters arrived for the generation right after you, and you watched that too, and you absorbed a specific lesson from all of it deep in the body before you had words for it. Do not be a burden. Other people are busy, tired, stretched thin. The way to be loved, or at least to not be a problem, is to need as little as possible. So you got quiet, you got capable, you got very, very good at handling things by yourself, which felt for a long time like strength. We're going to look at what it actually was. Now look at where that capable, uncomplaining child has ended up. Squarely in the middle. Holding more than any generation is built to hold from both directions at once. You're holding both ends of the rope. Aging parents who need rides, decisions, medications, money, presents, kids or grown kids who still lean on you in ways your generation never leaned on anyone. You are the hinge the whole family swings on, and no one is standing behind you because you were raised to be the one who doesn't need anyone behind them. There's a name for this position, and you're far from alone in it. It's called the sandwich generation, the people pressed between caring for aging parents above them and children still depending on them below. And researchers have measured just how crowded that middle has become. In a Pew Research Center study, more than half of Americans in their 40s, 54%, had both a living parent aged 65 or older and were still raising a child or financially supporting a grown one. Not a rare hardship. The defining condition of an entire generation's middle years, and sit with the sheer logistics of it, the part no one sees. You are the one who knows which parent takes which pill and when. You are the one who fields the call from the doctor and the call from the school in the same afternoon. You track the refills, the copays, the parent-teacher conference, the cardiologist, the tuition, the leaking roof at your mother's house, and the broken thing at your own. You are a switchboard with no operator, routing everyone's needs through a single exhausted body, yours. And you do it mostly without applause and without help, because the role you were cast in as a child has simply scaled up. You were the kid who handled it. Now you're the adult who handles it. The job description never changed, only the size of the job did. And the numbers underneath it are staggering once you stop and look. Across all American adults, about 1 in 4 are sandwiched like this. And among people in their 40s and 50s, the heart of Generation X, it is closer to the majority than the exception. You are not failing to keep up with some easier norm. The norm is this. Everyone you know in your position is quietly drowning in the same water, each of them convinced they are the only one who can't keep their head above it. And it isn't only time and logistics, it's money flowing out of one account in 2 directions at once. The adult child who needs help with rent, the parent whose care costs far more than anyone says out loud, the retirement you were supposed to be saving for, quietly rated to cover a generation above you and a generation below. You are funding 3 households on the worry of one, and somehow still the one who gets told you should have planned better. And underneath the logistics, there is something heavier, a grief that's harder to say out loud than any schedule. Here is what makes this uniquely yours. You are often caring for a parent who wasn't fully there for you. You're showing up with a tenderness you didn't always receive. And the resentment and the love are both real at the same time in the same body. That is not a flaw in you. That is one of the most complicated things a human heart can be asked to hold. Think about the strangeness of that bedside. You are spooning soup for a person who, when you were small, left you to spoon your own. You are sitting through the long appointment, holding the hand, learning the medications, being patient, offering, hour after hour, the exact attentiveness that was missing from your own childhood. And some quiet 8-year-old part of you notices. It says, "Where was this for me?" And then in the same breath, you feel monstrous for thinking it, and you bury it, and you keep showing up. You do not have to choose between those feelings, and you do not have to resolve them. The resentment is not a sign that you love your parent less. The love is not a betrayal of the child you were. They can both be true. Grief that the past can't be redone and devotion in the present can live in the same chest at the same time, and the fact that you keep showing up anyway with the ache fully inside you is not hypocrisy. It is one of the quietest forms of courage there is. And no one around you quite knows what to do with this particular grief, which is part of why it sits so heavy. If you complain about the caregiving, you sound cold. They're your parents after all, and aren't you supposed to be the good one? If you don't complain, no one knows you're struggling at all. So the most complicated feeling of your adult life has almost nowhere to go. You can't say it at the family dinner. You can't say it to your failing parent. You often can't even say it to your siblings who are managing their own tangled version of the very same thing. It lives inside you, unspoken, while you keep doing the work with steady hands and a level voice. Naming it, even just here, even just to yourself, takes some of the pressure off. You are allowed to find this hard. You are allowed to be doing a deeply loving thing and resenting it at the same time. That doesn't make you a bad son or a bad daughter. It only makes you an honest one. So where did it come from? This iron capability, this refusal to need anyone. It's worth going back because the answer changes how you treat yourself now. The independence wasn't a gift you were given. It was an adaptation you made. When a child is left to manage alone, they don't become free. They become self-reliant out of necessity, and they quietly conclude that needing help is dangerous. So now drowning, you still won't ask. You'll just absorb it, the way you absorbed everything else, alone. Watch how that adaptation actually forms. A small child needs something, comfort, help, attention, and reaches for it, and the reach goes unanswered. Not once, but as a pattern. The child cannot conclude that the adults are overwhelmed. A child's mind doesn't work that way. So they conclude the only thing a child can, that the need itself was the problem, that wanting was too much. And the nervous system, efficient and protective, quietly files the lesson away. Stop needing, and you'll stop getting hurt. That lesson doesn't expire. It hardens into a personality, and then into a point of pride. I don't need anyone. I've got it handled. I'd rather do it myself. These sound like strengths, and in a way they are, but listen to what's underneath them. Underneath is a child who decided decades ago that depending on people is how you get let down. So you became a person who gives help easily and cannot, for the life of you, accept it, who feels a flush of shame at the very thought of asking, who would rather collapse privately than be seen needing a hand. And that is why, right now, in the hardest season of your life, with more weight on you than any person should carry alone, your first and strongest instinct is still to tell everyone you're fine. The training is doing exactly what it was built to do. It just isn't serving you anymore. And it shows up in 100 small daily ways you've long stopped noticing. You're the friend who organizes everyone else's crisis and mentions none of your own. You're the one who says, I'm fine, so automatically that you say it even when you're not, even to yourself, especially to yourself. You refuse the offered help and then feel a flicker of resentment that no one insisted harder. You carry the heavy thing up the stairs alone rather than wait the 30 seconds it would take to ask. Each one is tiny. Together they are a whole architecture of a life built around a single rule: do not be a burden. And the cruelest part is how perfectly it's disguised as virtue. The world calls it independence, maturity, having it all together. It hands you praise for the exact behavior that is quietly starving you. So the wound gets reinforced from the outside every single day by people who mean it as a compliment. So here is the turn. Everything up to now has been the diagnosis. This is the part where it changes gently and on your terms.
But you are not 11 years old anymore, coming home to an empty house. You are an adult who is allowed to say, this is too much. Asking your siblings to share the load is not weakness. Hiring help, setting a limit, saying, I can't do all of it, these are not betrayals of the strong person you've always been. They might be the first time you've ever let that person rest.
Read that last part again, because it's the hinge of everything. The strong person you've always been does not disappear when you ask for help. She is not erased by a limit. He is not diminished by saying no. The strength was never the not asking. That was just the wound wearing the costume of strength. The real strength, the kind that's actually yours and not your childhood's, is the capacity to look at an impossible load and say plainly, without apology, I cannot carry all of this by myself, and I am not going to pretend otherwise anymore. And notice the fear that rises when you imagine it, that if you stop holding it all, you'll be exposed, judged, found out as less capable than everyone believed. That fear belongs to the empty house. It is the 8-year-old certainty that needing help makes you a burden, and a burden gets left. You are not that child, and these are not those people, and this is not that house. The adults around you are not going to vanish because you finally admitted you're human. And the ones who would, well, that tells you something you needed to know anyway. So let's get specific, because ask for help is useless advice if no one ever showed you how. You were trained to absorb, not to delegate. So delegating will feel deeply unnatural, and we're going to do it on purpose anyway. Start with the siblings if you have them. The load almost never falls evenly. It falls on the one who can't not pick it up, and that's you. So you may have to do the most uncomfortable thing your generation knows. Actually ask, directly, out loud. Not hint, not wait to be offered, not do it all and seethe. A real sentence to a real person: I need you to take the Thursday appointments. I need you to handle the finances. I cannot be the only one doing this. The discomfort you feel saying that is not a sign you're doing it wrong. It's the sign you're doing something new. Next, separate the tasks that need you from the tasks that just need someone. Sitting with your father, being the face he knows, that needs you, picking up the prescription, driving to the pharmacy, mowing the lawn, filling out the form, that needs hands, not your hands specifically. Hired help is not a moral failure. A paid caregiver, a cleaner, a meal service, a teenager down the street, every task you hand off is an hour returned to the parts of this that genuinely require you, or to the radical act of doing nothing at all for 20 minutes. Then there's the hardest one, the limit. Deciding in advance what you will not do and holding it. I don't do overnight stays. I don't answer work email after 8. Sundays are mine. A limit isn't a wall against the people you love.
It's the edge that lets you keep loving them without dissolving entirely into their needs. You're allowed to have an edge. People without edges aren't more loving, they're just more depleted. And maybe the smallest, most quietly powerful one of all, let one ball drop on purpose and watch what actually happens. Don't send the reminder text you always send. Don't fix the thing before anyone notices it's broken. Leave a little space where your overfunctioning usually rushes in, and discover slowly that the people around you are more capable than the frightened part of you has always insisted. Most of the time, the ball you were terrified to drop just gets picked up by someone else. They were waiting for the room. There's a deeper layer to this for those of you caring for the very parent who left you to raise yourself, because the practical help only goes so far when the wound is this old, and you deserve a way to do this that doesn't quietly cost you everything. You can give care without giving yourself away. Those are two different things, and the difference is the whole game. Showing up for a parent's needs does not require you to reopen the case, relitigate the childhood, or finally extract the apology you never got. You can drive your mother to dialysis and still not let her relitigate your weight, your choices, your life in the car. Duty to a person's care is not the same as surrender to their judgment. You can do the one and decline the other, and you're allowed to feel however you feel while you do it. Some days the love will be right there, easy and warm. Other days you'll be changing a dressing or sorting a pillbox, and a wave of old anger will rise up out of nowhere, and you'll do the task anyway, jaw tight, eyes stinging. Both of those days count as showing up. Caregiving does not require you to have forgiven everything first. It only requires the next small act of care, and you can perform that act with a whole complicated ocean inside you, and it still counts fully. What you must not do is let this season convince you to abandon yourself the way you were once abandoned. That's the real danger here. Not the schedule, but the slow erasure. When every hour belongs to someone else's body, it is desperately easy to lose the thread of your own life entirely. So you guard something, a walk, a friend, an hour with the door closed. Not as a luxury you'll get to later when it calms down, it does not calm down, but as the one promise you make to the 8-year-old who once had no one looking out for them. This time someone is. This time it's you. And that brings us to the last and hardest reframe of all. Not what you do with your hands, but whether you'll let yourself be seen while you do it. Your whole life, the move has been the same. Feel it, handle it, and let no one watch. Struggle in private, present fine to the world. The empty house taught you that no one was coming, so you stopped expecting anyone, and you got so good at the silent competence that now nobody knows to come, because you have never once let it show that you needed them to. But invisibility was a child's survival strategy, not an adult's destiny. The 8-year-old went quiet because being quiet was safe. You are not in that house anymore. And the people in your life right now, your partner, your friends, your own children, the sibling who actually would step up if you let them, cannot show up for a struggle you keep perfectly hidden. Your competence has made your suffering invisible even to the people who love you most. Letting them see it is not weakness, it's the thing that finally lets them in. So try, this week, one unthinkable sentence. To one safe person, I'm not okay, this is really hard, and I need some help. Your whole nervous system will scream that you're being a burden, that you're failing, that you've broken the one rule that kept you safe. Say it anyway, because the burden was never the truth, it was just the lie a lonely child had to believe. And the only way to finally disprove it is to let someone hold a corner of this with you and watch them stay, and understand what the hiding has actually cost you all these years, because it's more than the help you went without. It's the closeness you went without. Intimacy isn't built out of competence, it's built out of letting someone see the parts that aren't handled. Every time you hid the struggle to spare the people around you, you also, without ever meaning to, kept them at arm's length. You taught them you didn't need them. And people who come to believe they aren't needed eventually stop reaching, not because they stopped loving you, but because you gave them nothing to hold on to. So letting yourself be seen isn't only for your sake, it's the door back to the very closeness the hiding quietly cost you. The people who love you have been waiting for years to be let in. You only have to leave the door unlocked. You spent a childhood being strong because no one gave you the choice. You can spend the rest of it being strong in a completely different way, the kind that lets people in.
Your generation learned to disappear quietly and handle it. But you don't have to caretake the way you survived, alone, unseen, never asking. You're allowed to be visible in your own exhaustion. You're allowed to need someone finally, the way someone should have been there for you all those years ago in that empty house.
So this week, let one person see you. Ask for the one thing. Set the one limit. Drop the one ball. Not all of it at once. You didn't build this in a day and you won't set it down in one either. Just a single small act of letting the world help carry what you were never meant to carry alone. You were the kid who came home to no one and made it work anyway. That kid was so much braver than they should ever have had to be. The bravest thing you can do now, with all that hard-won strength, is to finally turn around and let someone be there for you. Take what helped here and leave the rest. Be gentle with yourself. You're carrying more than most people will ever see. And if any of this met something real in you, stay a while. There are other quiet, honest conversations here about family and growing up too soon and what it means to take care of yourself the way you've always taken care of everyone else.